I call this meeting to order at 7:30. Madam Clerk, please call the roll. Here.
Here. Trustee Robbins?
Here.
Trustee Mosher?
Here.
Trustee Rubin?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. We'll all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hello, thank you. Yes. Okay. Have a seat. All right, welcome to our cozy budget meeting. Yes, so I'm not going to do a huge supervisor's report since we covered a lot last time, but a lot of it is covered right now in the administrator report, which I really appreciate. So, and if Larisha wants to comment on any of that, that's great. Most important is I did bring up that law was changing regarding budget, regarding our contracting. It did get signed, so that now we don't have to do our request for proposal unless there's 30,000 or more, and obviously the same rules regarding professional services still apply. So we should have gotten that just through a moment ago. Toy has asked me to remind you all that they're having their November conference, and I'm sure you're all excited. If you're interested in additional Open Meetings Act work, education, on Thursday, there will be the Attorney General's office is doing a presentation, and it'll be back to their regular, regularly scheduled programming, if you will. But if you did do the online version, that covers your requirements. Anything else I need to cover on supervisors? It's just been a lot of fun here in the office. As you know, we are sitting in our, what I decided to call the atrium. It could be called whatever you so desire. But yes, we are currently seeking multiple quotes for some work on the back stairs. You can go take a quick look-see if you like. We do not believe it's currently a safety issue, but we were told by one of the contractors that the vibrations from using that conference room could exacerbate the problem. So in the meantime, we were encouraged not to use that room. And we have told anyone who comes in the office not to use the back stairs as well. So we're getting problematic. So.
The stairs are structurally fine. It's things that are in these walls that are loose. So the stairs are not the issue. It's just because it sits right next to the stairs. It's the beaming in between. It's loose. This building was built a long time ago. So I have some calls out. I have one proposal, but I have multiple calls out to people. I'm still waiting to hear from them, but obviously I'd like to get the work done sooner than later.
Right.
Are the stairs original to the building?
I believe so, yeah. Yeah. The stairs are sturdy. There's absolutely nothing wrong with them. They just told us not to go up. Yeah, they just told us not to go up and down.
Len thought that it was probably from the air conditioning and new piping stuff in the ceiling between floors. So then that acoustical tile ceiling like along here, that was all added at the time. It's just pulling apart. So that piping is strong for the remainder of the structure that's there, which is why there's a separation of that whole piece.
That's coming down.
Too heavy, right?
Yeah.
Because if the beams that we're talking about are original, and the stairway's original, then it was added to the load.
Yeah.
Right. And
Right.
But it could have put stress on the beam too. So the whole thing is, if you looked into that, that's Len saw it because he had it down there. It was everything actual.
There's a separation.
Yes. There's two sections. And so then he started peering at it as he went down and decided to mention it.
So naturally, we've all thought about this exact issue since we're dealing with the budget of that one line item for the building. We have a sense right now from the first estimate of
I think that estimate was about 12,000.
Oh.
So, and I know I
I thought it was gonna be.
thought it would be a lot higher too, but you will see that I reverted that number back in my proposal. So that the line item that you have takes into account the surprise. So I did revert back to a higher number on the building on the building fund, just in case. We have had trauma come in. If it turns out to be just wear and tear, unlikely. If it is associated with some sort of occurrence, potentially. I do not. But yeah. What else? Okay, so then financial reports. I believe Larissa kind of covers much of it in her administrative report right now. Since we don't have our line item budget in place yet, we can't do a line item to current.
Yeah. So the accounting company said that they're going to be working on kind of like what Diane did before as far as financial reporting, but because they are trying to put so much together, he said that they should be able to do it by June. If they want to restructure that financial report, you know, it's whatever they want to do as long as it reads the same, you know, for us to be able to follow. But we're just kind of working through, you know, restructuring everything right now.
And some of the basics as well, as you can see in the report, you know, we had to get credit cards. You know, we're basically starting from scratch here because everything was essentially taken, and we weren't able to, you know, and some things were just not ever established. So we are making them work now. Yeah, it's been certainly complicated. Not having credit cards has meant, you know, some fun, creativity. And we like you mentioned at the last meeting, we have some past due invoices that we're concerned about. So
we are currently working through those too. I mean, I spend a large part of my day switching over contracts, trying to get things, you know, in the right place. Some of the vendors are confused just because of how things were being done before. But some of those bills, honestly, that were getting paid on the credit card, I'm going to have them taken off and go back to invoice because we don't need to be spending on the credit card.
Yes.
I don't know why that was in place, but, you know, it just goes to prove the point. If we don't have a credit card or if I dropped it in the drain, then we can't pay our bills because it's so complicated to get it back. Right. Yeah. And I have spoken with the banker, and because of their complicated relationship with Diane, it's even harder for us to try to get, you know, the credit card. So I know that they're putting like an extra, you know, layer of security, which obviously they should do, but eventually we're going to move over to commercial credit instead of retail credit because trying to go through this muddy process, you know, commercial credit has more benefits for us as far as us having it and our signers having credit cards and being able to go into the bank and everything. It's just less complicated, but the process just takes longer. But I'm going to be removing Comcast. Comcast is behind right now, but I did speak with them today. That's coming off of the credit card. I told them to put us back to invoicing just so that the accounting company, they have an email set up now that I had set up for the invoices to go straight to them so that they can see it. But I have them CCing me because I'm kind of doing this pseudo accounting position as well right now. So just trying to get everything that's not really necessary on the credit card off of there so that we're also not paying a $5,000 credit bill every month.
Right. It's just hard for us to analyze what they're for.
Yeah.
So there were, you know, we had some contractors come and say, oh yeah, you need to renew this contract. And we've never seen them on our approval list, for instance.
Because it's on a credit card. Yeah. So it's kind of buried in those charges. And it's just, you know, for us to be more transparent, we need to go back to an invoicing system, even probably for IT, to be honest. But Gail and I have a meeting with them at the end of the month.
Right. Yeah. But I think we're making really good progress. I've been very impressed with how quickly, you know, James has responded and his team. We're going to even have our audit done without an extension. That's the plan this year. So get excited for that. I know Nicole.
Did everybody get their sign in for Howard Simon?
Yes.
So everybody does need to sign up for that so that you can see your check stubs. Howard Simon actually did offer to help us with some personnel stuff too, if we need some revisions to the personnel policy, which we do. They have a lot of great resources and their team works very quickly and very hard. We have a lot of muddy stuff to work through. But I had a meeting last week with Nicole. And I'll speak with you about that, Jan. I did get your email. Nicole from Howard Simon. I had a Zoom call with her for about an hour last week. And they are working on piecing everything together because we don't have a baseline for vacation, for our sick pay or anything like that. So they're kind of just trying to put it together from what I gave them.
So if you want to see
your check stubs instead of physically getting it, but it would have come to your township email.
All right, Madam Clerk.
And as we can tell, Larisha is swamped and incredibly busy, so we still have closed passports and accepting new appointments. And we still have voicemail so that she doesn't even have to pick up the phone and explain that it's closed. So the voicemail messages we're receiving are incredibly lower than they had been previously. So that's really nice to cut down on that work for her as she gets up to speed on everything else. And I want to apologize. I don't have the minutes. I think the whole extra meeting threw me. So we'll have the next one.
Absolutely.
And that's it.
Assessor Truesdell.
Yes. Just very briefly, and our results out today. So we review, they are still doing one, not this year. The board review still will. It opens tomorrow. It's 3 whole days. Closes, I believe, promptly at 5 p.m. on Friday, not at midnight.
Wait.
I have to verify that.
So it's open now?
It
Friday?
opens, well, today's 10th. Oh. So yeah, it opens tomorrow. So if anybody wants to look, now's the time. And that's for OWL and anybody out there watching more than anything else. And I asked Julia to send an email to blast our township list and also post notices on social media.
Fabulous.
To cover. That's it.
Thank you for being on that. All right. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn to our public hearing on the budget. Is there such a motion? Is there a second? All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, we are now in a public hearing, the budget hearing on the Town Fund and General Assistance Fund. We noticed the budget appropriation ordinance, New Trier Township 2022-01 per the statute that would be included in your packet and was posted throughout the township, as well as on our website, of course, and available at the township. For those who are listening in the internet land, it's on our website. So you can follow along. You're looking at the one that, and for those of you who are here, you're looking at the one that says May 10th, 2022 on the bottom. So this version is what our appropriation ordinance would have been with all of our appropriations at the levels they had been in previous years. Okay, so I am proposing some edits so that they are in line with the changes we've made to the line item budget in the last couple meetings. So that is the second document that you received tonight. It says on the bottom, May 10th, 2022 revised version. For those of you in internet land, if you take a look in the board packet, you'll see the line item budget. The line item budget is literally, I just copied that as the detail portion so that they are completely the same, because it was frustrating me that they weren't. So now you can see exactly what we're seeing when we're going to be doing the year-to-date, year-to-budget analysis going forward. Another thing that would be nice in the future would be to number these lines. I never knew that was a thing until I looked at other townships. So in the future, we will do that as well. But there's no, like, the format isn't statutory. So the fact that I changed a bit by making it more detailed is not an issue. It's only a benefit, I think, just for transparency. Like I said, the only difference from what we've been discussing in previous months to what my proposal is tonight is that I went back to the building maintenance repair line. I went back to the 90. I reverted back because risk averse. Otherwise, they're all integrated into this version. Does anybody in the public need a copy? Okay.
This is what we discussed at the last meeting.
With the exception of that building line. So the one that was noticed is not the one that I'm proposing we vote on. I'm proposing we take the line item budget, which is in the board packet, and include those provisions as the detail of the new budget ordinance. And of course, assuming that that is passed, we would make those changes. So in accordance with adding those, with making it aligned with the line item budget, you can see the differences in your noticed budget and the proposed budget. Mostly, the revenues would be the same. Obviously, nothing changed there. But the administrative costs went down significantly. And our programs and services are relatively similar, but a little bit different. And I got rid of the random miscellaneous because I don't know what that was supposed to be. But other than that, so then obviously everything, all the addition and subtraction hopefully worked out. Poli-sci major, not a mathematician, but Excel does fancy things. Is there any public comment on that, on either the proposed budget, which is adding in the, changing the notice budget to be in line with the line item proposal, or the notice budget? Show me where you're looking. We'll still have a surplus.
Are you looking at page 4 of 6 and concerned about the red? Okay.
I believe that's just because of the revenues. That doesn't take into account the starting balance, because the actual ending balance will still be significant. Our revenues for general assistance are just 416. Sorry, 421. And then our assistance expenses are 550, so that accounts for the 128 variance.
And I just, on the subject, I'm assuming we put everything into general assistance.
Everything I could think of. So this does increase a bit what we're spending on that, as much as I think was legal.
There's a Zoom comment that she can't hear anyone besides Gail. So if you could speak up when you speak.
Thank you for that note, Mary. Are we good now? Oh yeah, please.
Gail, you've always been good. I can hear you very
good. I'll tell my debate coach.
But most of the other, I could not hear Trustee Moser at all.
Okay.
And Trustee Robbins was hard to hear. And anyway, anyone else was hard to hear.
Trustee Moser, did you want to repeat your question or comment? Even louder. Mm-hmm. Right. So we're spending down that surplus a bit, but still would, I'm glad we don't have that kind of need, but still would highly benefit from a sweep from the General Assembly for all those listening. And I'm still in contact with other ways that we can try to address that. Okay.
7, if you look at the top of page 4 of 6, you'll see our beginning surplus is about $1,070,000 or so. And with the increased spending, our surplus is projected to be about $945,000. So we still got a hefty surplus.
Yes. Yes, so the variance that it's showing at the very bottom is just for our revenues to expenditures if we didn't have any money in the bank. Yeah. Any additional questions from the board or the public? Seeing none, I would now entertain a motion to reconvene to our regular meeting.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? We have now reconvened to our regular meeting. I would now entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2022-01, the May 10th, 2022 revised edition. Is there such a motion? Is there a second? Madam Clerk, please call the roll. Yes.
Trustee Casal McNally.
Yes.
Trustee Robbins.
Yes.
Trustee Mosier. Yes. Trustee Rubin.
Yes.
The ayes have it. Yeah. Oh, you're supposed to watch me do this.
Yep. I'm watching.
Oh, I think I have to sign the last page too. But, right?
Yes.
Yep. And I really appreciate everybody's hard work so that that process could be smooth over the last couple of meetings. Really, I mean, for those of you who were here last time, you know that it was a late night. So I highly appreciate that. Otherwise, there's no way I could do the fancy PDF work as it is. All right, we're now in line for committee liaison reports. Mental health.
So we had a meeting last Monday. I was not in attendance, and so I can't speak to anything that happened. But I know that we have a meeting in June and then are off for the summer, as I believe are all the committees. And I just wanted to, on the record, thank the members of the Mental Health Committee for this past year. It's a heck of a job, so thank you all.
Absolutely. Agency oversight.
I have nothing to report at this time.
Money follows the person.
We have our next meeting towards the end of the month. And we did not have one in April. Our last meeting was in March.
Peer jury.
We had a new case from Blanco. We haven't had a case from Blanco in a long time. This is very encouraging. Brand new youth officer from Blanco.
Nice and loud.
Brand new youth officer who came over with the offender, and it was interesting because this is I believe a Arlington Heights offender who committed the offense in Blanco. But Brian's going to work with a local agency on Arlington Heights to make sure he does service. But Blanco sounds promising. It sounds like they're on board with that performance, so that's good. We have peer juror training coming up on May 25th to try to help the crop of new jurors interested. And we did conduct our last session down here. We did not get a huge turnout of jurors, fortunately, because this was tough with our normal turnout because they AP tested. So we had enough jurors to get the job done, and it worked out fine. But the sooner we can be up and running upstairs, the better, or we may have to make arrangements to possibly borrow those.
Thank you. Okay. And just as a note for you all the funding letters went out to the agencies regarding the approved funding based on our approval line item budget.
Which included the requirements for next year.
Exactly.
Well.
We also have sent those as well. Yep.
Thank you.
And there will be a luncheon in July. We're bringing that back. We've done that pre-COVID to bring together all the agencies so they can share best practices and to thank them for their participation in our programs. And so more information will be coming forward, especially, and we'll keep in line with obviously whatever COVID's happening. But hopefully upstairs.
Yeah.
All right. Are there any other public comments? Seeing none. New business. summer intern. Oh, sorry, we skipped the acknowledgement of staff reports. I apologize. Acknowledgement of staff reports. We've received staff reports from our administrator, our community services administrator, our general assistance director, I believe I called it, and outreach and communications director. Does anybody want to take any information from that and bring it on to put it on the table for discussion?
I want to give a special shout out to Joy for the excellent job she did at the shredding event. I observed for about an hour, and it was extremely well run, as others trustees have reported. Yeah, Julie just did a magnificent job. The volunteer center people who were there were outstanding, and I believe we filled the truck to its full capacity with not much room to spare.
Not much room. I called today 9,500.
Nice. Congratulations. It was a lot of fun. Challenges and benefits. But again, Regina's, that's such a great location for it. For all. But yes, people were very, mostly were very happy about it. Some were a little bit concerned about limits, or just had random documents in their trunk.
What I observed was really
absolutely.
They loved it. It was so smooth. They just pull up their car. The volunteers get stuff out of there. It's a wonderful event, and I think it brings the township very. It puts us in very good standing with those folks.
Absolutely.
Really did a great job.
Absolutely.
It did make me wonder, as we were there and helping people with that nice long line, if there's a way in future, and I recognize we're taking paper from people, but if there's a way in future, if we have anything to publicize, or if we have anything that we want to get out, we've got a captive audience, that it may be worth considering, trying to, get people, get materials in front of people. That might be a great way to do it. Or, the QR code or something. It's something to consider kind of in future, but I loved it. I can't wait for the next one.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Really good.
Definitely, we can use one of our big signs that says, senior services food pantry, so people have at least the Cliffs notes.
Yeah.
But yes, I've seen a similar process for if anyone's done the OT team where you have to line up for a long period as well. It's really just that beginning rush where people are sitting. Otherwise, we were really on it.
Right.
But yes, people are there, lined up and ready. So thank you again, Julie. And get excited for all the Memorial Day events that are listed in Julie's reports. Hope to see you there. Good exercise for good cause. But we do have 2 events, so we have to be in 2 places at once. So I'm highly telling Kate, no, 3 places. If you guys can do Winnetka, that would be highly fabulous.
Oh, yeah.
It was in the updated report. Thank you. All right. And if anyone runs, then feel free to do the 5K. I only run for buses and trains. So, touche. But yeah.
I'd like to just give you guys just a quick breakdown of my report because there's more stuff to add, but I am going to go to the IATA administrator meeting next week. It's in Schaumburg. It's to meet, the rest of the administrators, which would be a good opportunity. Gail sent me something from Toy today for Professional Development Day for QuickBooks. So I signed up for that because we are switching to the QuickBooks platform. I do have some QuickBooks experience, that I worked on for a few years on the accounts receivable end, but, just to know, more knowledge. As far as the building maintenance, as I mentioned, Kylie Upmetter did come today. Our inspection report and certificate should be getting processed. And once I get it electronically, I have to send it on to the state marshal so that we are in compliance with that. GB Electric has been here a few times. Julie had some issues in her office, but they come out pretty quickly. RH Wit was here today because we are having thermostat issues. So it's good that we have a bigger building budget because everything's falling apart. We got a new upgraded security system last week. Our old radio was not working because we got the new phone system, and the other one that we had was outdated like everything else in the office. If you guys can see in there, we got a brand new kidney balls machine last week. We are on a government plan now. I spoke with them, so we are under new lease for that. We were only in verbal contract before, which makes me very nervous. HTML Global is working on getting our accounting firm remote access because they're only in here once per week. So I'm kind of trying to work with them. If they're only here once per week, they need access to that computer. QuickBooks, like I said, is going to replace Sage. And Gail and I have been working with BMO Harris for the last 3 weeks to get new credit cards. Other than that, things have been very, I don't know how else to describe it other than crazy and, you know, very busy. I do feel like we are on the right path. Gail and I have been working very closely. Julie and I have been working very closely. It's been a path to go from administrative assistant to administrator, but the staff, we are all working very well together. There are some days we might have 20 pantry clients in here. So Julie always jumps in or I jump in, whichever one of us sees them first. So I feel like the office morale is good. We are just trying to get things under control. So it's just a lot of new things coming down the pike. But as far as the building stuff is concerned, I feel like it's coming along. I'm still working out our sprinkler system. I got access to some of Diane's old emails, not a lot of them, to kind of see who she was speaking with so that I can build up a Rolodex for myself and introduce myself to them and say that I'm the new administrator, just for them to come from, you know, become familiar with me, because I don't want anything to get overlooked. I did find out today that we do own this Xerox machine now. We were on a previous lease. So now we are just on a contract for repairs. So if we need anything repaired, we just kind of pay for that separately since we're not in the lease anymore. 9 times out of 10, the lease includes the maintenance. The new Penny Bowles machine includes our maintenance as well. It includes replacement if we needed a new machine, for a technician to come out. Even if we wanted a technician to come out and give us training, it includes that in that price, which is $216.48 per quarter, which is not much because we were paying $97 a month for a rental that was obsolete. So this is much better financially for us, and it's updated. And when I do passports, I can do everything from right there. And that's wrapped up for me.
Thank you. You really jumped into both hands. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Very closely together. And
Yeah.
Whenever you tell you, just say thank you. You're just incredibly responsive, super quick, and in such a nice.
Thank you
so much. Absolutely. I also wanted to grab one thing off of the communications report. We now have all the FOIAs from this past year posted, and I really love that. So that's really exciting. We can go ahead and play with that if you want to ever see any old FOIA responses. Yeah, we're keeping you busy.
It's a big team effort doing FOIA. It really is, especially because I kind of have to go in there and dig through. I have to go back. I have to see what I had in my files. It's pretty complicated, and we do all have to really work together to get that information. That FOIA is the reason why I found out that we didn't have the Bowles contract.
Someone asked for our contract.
Well, like, oh, it doesn't exist. Yes. Yeah.
So thank you to them.
Yes.
Yeah, they wanted to undercut a non-existent contract.
Yeah.
And our new intern is starting, as Julie mentions here, and that will lead us to our next order of business, I believe. So she's starting the 2nd week of June. She'll be working on our wellness fair, youth outreach, social media, event planning, and website editing. I did do a survey of Cook County townships to ask if they offer a stipend to interns. The vast majority do not have non-social work interns in their offices. The few that do pay minimum wage, which is $13 an hour. And so I'm proposing to meet that at $13 an hour. Contract hire. We did the math, Julie. Yeah. Yeah. For how many weeks? 6 weeks.
And I'm going to be working with Howard Simon for onboarding. They have an electronic onboarding. So we're going to be going through training for that so that when people come on, they have everything that they need electronically signing on. Mm-hmm. They do the tax forms and all of that stuff with that person. So she will be the first person that we onboard on the new company.
She's also our guinea pig as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. High schooler? She's a high schooler, nutrition.
Okay. So she's given us whatever, employment form she needs to give us from the school. Oh yeah, good deal.
Exactly. The current minimum wage. So we're obviously we're not bound to the minimum wage because when Cook County created it, they exempted people under 18 and governments. But it's a solidarity with our business community and a recognition of her work. So
should we make it?
Mm-hmm. Right. I think she wasn't expecting any compensation. I know I did not get compensated when I interned as a high schooler. But I'm open to considering different numbers. That's why I did the survey, was to see what the market was.
The master's level intern that assists Jeannie, is that
it's not. She has to have a required number of hours for coursework. So actually, some places make those interns pay them. I know when Jean told me this, I was like, that's insanity. Mm-hmm. Right?
It may sound strange, but I have a hard time reconciling one with the other. I mean, how could the high school intern who's getting a great opportunity, getting compensated, and the master's level intern who's going to do double time because she's got this thing for that for a month, not to get it?
She is being paid when she is the acting general assistant director.
She will be paid for
yes.
that?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I know.
Academic.
Mm-hmm. So
yeah. Right. So yeah, certainly when I was getting course credit, I definitely wasn't getting paid. Right. So would you like to amend that a number? Right. Yes, that is how we got to that number.
10 hours?
10 hours a week, 6 weeks. Yeah.
No. Nicole is going to work with me on that because I explained to her that she is an intern. So whatever their platform is what we are going to onboard her as.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Since the work is significant to the township and not ancillary to our role, I think it would support an employment relationship, but I will leave that to the Howard Simon people. Mm-hmm. Certainly she is free to work outside of the township. All right. Is there a motion to approve a summer intern stipend of $13 an hour? Is there a second? All those in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Certainly doesn't hurt, shall we? Yes.
Yes.
Trustee Robbins.
Yes.
Trustee Mosier.
Yes.
Trustee Rubin.
It is approved. Next is our public comment policy.
Did we skip other public comments at the end of the staff report?
No, I didn't, but I moved them to the in top of the calendar. They're so good. All right, you have before you rules of order, heavily borrowed from when formal math. So if I did miss anything where I changed village to township or president to supervisor, please let me know. But I think I got them all. And I did, made it a little bit simpler since they have a lot more committees and commissions, where I did not, and their committees and commissions have more representatives of the board. So ours aren't, don't have the same necessity of policy to be as formal. So I would ask for a motion to approve the rules of order. Is there such a motion? Is there a second? Any discussion?
Yes.
Good job with your
for the I'm working for the avoidance of doubt. This would be for not only board meetings, but for things like the annual township meeting as well.
So we can approve separate policies,
okay,
as we did in this time. This would be the default.
Okay.
I think we would have to put it as part of the agenda
Mm-hmm.
and adopt them for that specific meeting as well.
Understood.
Just do that.
Good question. But having this would be to allow to not have any issues going forward. Yeah.
That doesn't make a lot of sense. It is proper procedure, but new business just raised at the time of the work.
Right, but we've never taken action on new business and it says to be acted upon. Well, that wouldn't be a line.
So to clarify, you can raise new business,
right?
But you can't take action on it. And then does it come back as new business on the next agenda, or does it come back as old business?
It would come back as old business.
Yeah, or another. I think it's continuing.
Yeah. Continuing. Oh yes. Oh, should we change the old business to continuing?
Yeah, it's on the current agenda.
But on 4, I messed that up. Yeah. Continuing business.
Are there exceptions for emergency situations? How would you handle it? Like COVID was an example.
Yeah.
For board meetings. So
yes. I believe there was a provision, and sorry, I don't have my separate computer to control F. There is a provision to amend the rules that can be done by a majority of the board. Right. Policy. Exactly. I believe it has to be like a super majority. Yeah. So anytime you see old business, I want to fix. I think that's the only place it was. Any other discussion? And the concept would be to post this so that we have it, so anyone who comes to visit will know that they get their 3 minutes and content neutral, and that we can extend to 30 minutes if we need to. And that we follow parliamentary procedure. That is what Wilmette does. Okay. But from my visiting of other meetings, and League of Women Voters can certainly chime in, that it is relatively standard.
Yeah, are you referring to, I'm sorry to go back to the previous one. Are you referring to Rule 15 regarding the suspension or rather an emergency situation? Well, that's what we're trying to figure out is what is that proviso? And if it's 15, then it's 15. If it's something else, I just want to know where it is because now I'm curious.
Rule 8, these rules, with the exception of number 5 and rule 14, may be suspended when no objection is made or when a majority of the board suspends them.
Do you think that gives us sufficient level?
A majority vote? I would think so. If you don't have a majority to suspend the rules, you probably won't be able to do the action.
And it's majority of the board? It's not majority.
The supervisor is considered part of the board. Statutorily.
We couldn't take any action regardless if we didn't have
if you didn't have, yeah, right. It's a good point.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you didn't have a quorum anyway.
All right.
I think promulgating these rules is an outstanding idea. And we all have the understanding that we'll see how things go. And if we have to modify them a little bit.
Right, written in PDF, not stone.
I guess it was wondering which ones, like standing and special committees, like when the trustees report on committees, that's not a written.
True.
So I just wondered if that was, because I don't always get written reports even when committee members come. So I don't know if like that affects some of our.
Good question. Standing and special committees.
Yeah.
So how I'm envisioning that is we're having a discussion and we refer a matter to a committee for discussion. And then it comes back to us.
So that would be almost like in the minutes, I'd be writing that down and that would be the writing.
Exactly. So you'd say refer to just to Moneyval's person to make a recommendation. And we want that recommendation to be in writing.
I think this is a good idea. I mean, it could possibly over time we need to tweak.
Yeah.
Sorry, this looks like a really good idea.
Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll close the floor for debate. And Madam Clerk, please. Oh, sorry. We don't need a roll for this one. All those in favor of adopting the rules of order, please say aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, the rules of order and putting this public comment policy are adopted.
I have another item.
Yes.
On our last meeting, you mentioned that our council had sent a letter to Diana, the Diana's council.
We sent the township sent a certified letter.
Okay.
Yes.
Was that responded to by the required date?
It was not.
What's next?
I put in a police report for the missing property. We'll keep you posted. We had to put in a police report for the missing property. We are now in line for the approval of claims. Trustee Moser.
Check number Daniel Boyd for a total of $25,917.70 for the period of April 1st, 2022, April 30th, 2022.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll. Yes.
Yes.
Trustee Robbins.
Yes.
Trustee Moser.
Yes.
Trustee Rubin.
Yes. It is approved. I'm going to send it to Kate. We're now looking at the check register.
And now looking at the town fund for period April 1st, 2022, April 30th, 2022. Again, check number 1588 through check number, well, actually 1601, 1604, 1603, and 1602, which are all voids. For a total of $41,663.50.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, can I get some clarification?
Yes. And the voids, the question?
Yes.
Yeah.
The voids are from the accounting company. We are still trying to work through things that need to be paid, and who the vendors are that they are to be paid to. Some of them were duplicates. We were having issues with some of the checks printing as duplicates out of Sage because Diane's computer was not updated. That has since been updated. So a lot of it is not actually voiding the checks. It's just really system error problems. But we are not going to be dealing with this pretty soon because we're going to be in a completely different system. Yeah, they were voided, yes. A lot of them are just printing as duplicate. And there will be another one on the next board meeting because we had someone come and repair the refrigerator last week. But since we have no credit card, I had to physically write a check and have Gail run over here and sign it. So the check that was actually created in the system had to be voided, and then they put the other one in the system.
Okay. So check 1602 is to the same payee and for the same amount as 1621. And 1603 is similarly the same amount and the same payee as 1620. HTML Global, that's 1604. It's the same situation. Oh, no, wait.
These are monthly.
Okay.
Yeah, HTML Global has
okay.
multiple invoices, and American Eagle does as well, because American Eagle hosts our email as well as some other things for us with the changeover. So they have some other fees.
Right. So monthly is one thing, but this is a week apart. That's 7 days.
Well, that's what we're filling out.
Okay.
Yeah, because the accounting company is only here 1 day per week, so the bills are piling up.
Gotcha.
So there's going to be a lot of multiple payments in a month.
I just want to make sure that we're not going to have like,
and there were invoices
nipped at us.
Yeah, there were invoices sitting in a file.
Yeah.
So we're paying some of the previous months right now. I don't want the once a week to sound like it's insufficient because previously we were doing twice a month.
Yeah. Once we get on the right track,
yeah,
I think we're going to be
even out. Yeah.
But, okay.
Some of this is stuff that I found in Diane's emails. Some of this is stuff that's been sent to me. So I'm just trying to catch up so that we are current with all of our bills. Exactly. And even after he does the bills, I still have another pile in for when he comes back on Monday. So
you can see that we have made our payments for Oakland Community College, which means that we can start awarding scholarships. So very exciting.
Just keep us in the loop. If there's a problem, just let us know. I know you will. Right.
Clarification.
Right. I believe we had to pay by June something or other. Yeah. So that they can start awarding it in July. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Supervisor Eisenberg.
Yes.
Trustee Cassell McNally.
Yes.
Trustee Robbins.
Yes.
Trustee Mosier. Yes. Trustee Kerwin. Yes. Approved on that.
Sorry, do you need any trustee signatures on the ordinance?
The budget.
No, we just tally the ayes and nays, and then Gail signs and I sign. And I file electronically now, so.
I'm sorry, I realized I should have brought this up with continuing business again. But do we want to address the letter that some of the trustees received?
That's fine with me.
Okay. Yeah. And unfortunately, Brian isn't here in front of us, but I don't know if it's all, but a number of the trustees received an anonymous email, an anonymous hard copy letter to the township, essentially requesting that the township offer as part of the food pantry perishable items like bread, milk, eggs, butter, cheese, and bakery items. And I understand that there is some background on some of this that we have tried in the past and it has not gone over well. And so, for the sake of clarity, and whoever is listening in, if anybody more knowledgeable about this wants to comment, I would love to at least acknowledge this on the floor.
And I would like Brian perhaps to address it in his next report as well. But Lori, do you want to give some background?
So right now, with the structure of the pantry specifically, we're giving away 1 bag of produce, 1 bag of staples. We are not ready to go on the new system that we're going to have because of all of these changes, but we are hoping to get that ready for the summer. In the past, we have a lot of waste. We've had people donate bread, donate milk. It just doesn't go because, you know, everybody has so many different dairy needs because of religion or, you know, whatever it is. You know, some people don't eat meat. We have so many different needs when it comes to the pantry. And I think that Brian has really tried it all. What we have right now is, you know, sustainable. We actually don't get people that ask us for milk, cheese, you know, and even when they did shop and we would have some shredded cheese, like random things, people would never take it. I don't know if it's because it's in a pantry and it's not like your choice of going into a grocery store and actually looking at the expiration dates and things like that. People just wouldn't take it. But also from a donation standpoint, people don't donate us things that are refrigeratable. Sometimes people donate like hams and turkeys around the holidays, but we ask that they don't give it to us because we have a system that we order meat that we, you know, so that we make sure that it's safe. As far as eggs and things like that, that's something that Brian will also have to go out and get. So if we had people who came in and asked for it, I think that it would be something different, but what we are offering actually is sufficient for people. I think that, like I said, the dairy and things like that, people have asked us for bread sometimes, but we've had tons of bagels, things like that, that people have donated. Sometimes we get rid of all of it, sometimes we don't. But since people are not shopping right now, you know, maybe later we can look into it. I'll speak with Brian about it tomorrow morning when people do go back to shopping. And maybe we can, you know, discuss or find out a need. It's also trying to ask the clients really what they need. And we're not seeing, we see a lot of pantry clients, but we don't see the full list still because of COVID. So, you know, it would be nice for us to know, do you want dairy, you know? So.
Perhaps it's something that can be asked when we have the, when we have the swiping.
Especially with the new system.
Right. I think we could assume probably that the amount of stuff which I did not see by the probably from a pantry recipient. You know, running a pantry is not an easy thing. Very difficult decisions have been made regarding shelf life and regarding refrigerator space. And certain things are, over the years, are workable and some things aren't. And a lot of the items that are pointed out in that letter, you know, are victims of shelf life and refrigeration constraints that we have. It's not to say that we shouldn't continue to look into the possibility of offering some of these things, and maybe we can. But I think it's a wonderful letter, and it's something that we've thought about, and we've made some tough calls. But I think we should keep an open mind with Brian about the possibility of maybe offering some of those things. But I think a cheese, for example, it doesn't always have to be refrigerated.
Sure, we could be European and
yeah, there's some shelf-stable milk options, right?
We don't have a lot of refrigerator space up here. One whole freezer is for meat. The standalone freezer is for meat. The other refrigerator and freezer, Brian puts the produce bags in so that they stay cold. So there's not really a ton of space. And with shelving, we really don't have anywhere back there to put another refrigerator. So that's one problem. Space is definitely one problem. As far as bread, even if Brian went out and did bread, you know, it gets into choice, you know, and then, you know, after a while, bread molds and, you know, yeah.
But it is something we can take a look at to see what we can as far as diversifying.
We'll speak to him about it at the staff meeting tomorrow morning.
But thanks for bringing that up. I think we do offer a pretty healthy selection, especially with the produce bag. So I always appreciate that. All right. Seeing nothing else in line on our agenda, I will now entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there such a motion?
Second.
All those in favor, please